I'm out named Mary. And that's what I do when I'm nervous. I find me a newcomer, right? Because I can't do this alone. And they keep it real simple and remind me where I came from, because I can get real confused with a little bit of time cleaning, right? We put some decades together and we start to think there are things that we must dig into and try to solve of our own volition. And it's like, did we forget the miracle that got us here? Is there anybody in the room who really believed that stop using drugs was the right thing to do? When you came to Narcotics Anonymous, was there a single person in this room today that had faith that if you put the dope down, your life would get better? Did you think anybody understood you? No. So I come from a lifetime of addiction. I will qualify myself a little because I know that there's somebody here with 8 days clean. And there's some people in the room with like 55 years clean. And it feels good to be a part of, right? When I was 4 years old, my mom used to send me to the bar with my dad and my grandpa. Now, her intention was thinking that they would come home sooner. And I just found it very interesting that as soon as they got to the bar, they slid right up, they got something that they liked a lot, and they were having fun. And they were slipping me quarters and telling me, go play the little bowling game and go play the pinball machine. No, I wanted to know what was helping them have so much fun. And I begged and I pleaded and I did in every way that I could for I don't know how long, until the day the bartender said, just give her a shot of what you're having. She won't like it. She'll shut the fuck up and leave us alone. And they poured me a shot and I drank it. And it did burn going down, but the immediate effect hooked me. And I started drinking with my dad and my grandpa at a tender age. Now, I went to catechism. I grew up Catholic, and I would meet my dad and my grandpa all through my childhood down at the bar. The bar would change names, but the practices we had didn't change. And the things that were running through that bar were a lot more than liquid full. And I didn't have any discretion. I liked it all. And I got it all. And my parents protected me in ways that they knew too. I mean, we have 5 generations of active addiction growing up. I do not hold them accountable. They taught me what they learned. They loved me and did the best they could. I got here mighty young because of it, right? Some of you might think, oh, how could she have decades clean? Of course, it's catching up to me now. But no, I got here at 21. I didn't care to polish my nails, brush my teeth or my hair. I didn't care what I looked like or what you thought of me. I was in it to be high 24/7. I was locked and loaded. I woke up with stuff. I made sure that the conditions in my life managed my addiction well. I didn't have to do some of the things that some other people had to do to get one more yet. But I was still crippled. I was crippled and my spirit was broken. And I felt used up at 21 and old. And people were like, you're so young. How could you be ready to throw in the towel? And through a series of unfortunate events, I had some legal problems that coincided with my ending. And the most interesting thing was happening is that people would look at me, and I looked younger than I was. I didn't even look 21, but the lifestyle I'd led and the innocence that I still had, because most people treated me like their little sister, and I'm grateful today for the people who protected me from myself and from some of the rigors of the streets. But I didn't come in unscathed, no. And with my broken spirit, I sat before a pre-sentencing investigator and a judge who said, we didn't just look at you and your crimes. We looked at your family history, and we just do not think that you know anything other than this lifestyle you've been living. And if you trust us and work with us, we think we could help you find some hope so that as an adult, you'll find the will to live. Because when they asked me, where are we going to find you when we're done with this pre-sentencing investigation, I said, probably in an urn on somebody's mantle. And I meant it. And so they put me in a treatment center and I got some education. And I had, as an underage person, gotten an opportunity that I was way too innocent to try to manipulate my way into, but some middle-aged men decided that they could teach me to bartend and they could run some things. And because I was such a young, innocent, pliable person, I could help them work these deals out and have this ring going. And it worked to my advantage mostly. But I didn't really have a normal childhood. I didn't have the things that some other people did. Now, I did protect something. Like, my family expected you to graduate from high school. And I did. Everything I did to extremes. Like the using dope, the things to cover up and make us look good on the surface. My freshman year of high school, I was varsity letter, and I didn't do anything halfway, right? I qualified. But when the ending was coming, I had no desire to cover up, to figure out, but I also wasn't going to roll over on anybody, because there were a couple of people who had got dinged hard in the ring that I was in, and they didn't put no names out there, and they didn't take a lighter sentence. And I wasn't going to play that game, whatever the cost, because that's how I grew up in the streets with my family and my crew. Pre-sentencing investigator, he didn't care. He wasn't trying to take anybody else down. He was trying to save my life. He didn't dig very deep. He didn't try very hard. He didn't even care about the corrupt practices and the people I was with, and he didn't care about taking any of them down. And that was foreign to me, that somebody would put that kind of energy into me. So I go into this treatment center that they tell me about, and I got a little education, and I got some exposure to 5 different fellowships because it was the 80s. Yeah, you know all the alphabet soup. The most important thing about it is that for the first time in my life, I was finding out, what? You understand obsession and compulsion like I have lived it, because there wasn't a single thing in my life that I didn't do to extremes if I wanted more. Whatever drug it was, whatever activity it was, I excelled in because I put 110% into it. And so, obsession about whatever it was I wanted, and then compulsively acting out, even when I didn't want it anymore. It had taken over my life, and it had thoroughly taken root. And so that education that I got in that treatment center was lovely. I got a lot of exposure to a lot of fellowships. It didn't stop me from using, but it certainly slowed me down. And I got out of treatment, and I started going to 5 different fellowships and trying to find the person who could help me find the right combination. Because if you really knew me, you would know I wasn't one of those people who could live without dope. You could help me find a combination that would keep me from wreaking havoc and doing damage and harming people and communities to the extent that I did, because I no longer could live with myself being that person. And so I'll remember the day that I got in my purse to pull out a couple bills to throw in the basket when it went around. And somebody saw my fix and my vial and my pipe. And they're like, Mary, that's paraphernalia. That's dope. What are you doing? I'm like, well, what do you mean? I need this medically. When I got here, I had fractured my skull, broken my arm. And they're like, wait a minute. The doctor's giving you a vial of morphine to carry around. Oh, well, he would if he knew how bad my head hurt. That is how steeped in denial I was when I got here, right? But a person sitting beside me in the meeting had the courage to call me out and to help me to understand the readings in the beginning of the meeting. She didn't call me out in the meeting. She rolled up on me after the meeting and talked quietly to me about that puts us all in danger when you have any paraphernalia or drugs on you. You're welcome here, but don't bring that with you, right? And then she started working on me every freaking week. So you're just using it for this pain and for your health. How's it different than what brought you here? And how much can you use and just tolerate the pain and not just use it to obliteration and say, you know, we're addicts, we think, we gotta answer questions, and she fucked up my using. I'm sorry, Sunday morning speaker, I'm supposed to higher power help me. The important thing was she helped me look at myself in a way that no one had in my life before. No one bothered, because they were all suffering in their own ways. And the degree that I was honest with the pre-sentence investigator, who did come back on me after I put my time in treatment, learned some things, getting educated, going to some meetings. They didn't make me sign papers. I wouldn't have done it because I really didn't care to please anybody. I was just looking for some kind of solution, and I don't know why this judge and this pre-sentencing investigator put so much interest in the intolerance on me. And when they asked me, I was very honest with them. All the things, here's a long list of dope that I had stopped using, and then the things that I was still using that they would find if they tested me. And they're like, so Mary, we think that if you're serious about finding a new way of life, you might just need to change your geography. And we found at that time they didn't have halfway homes for women in Ohio. So they were like, we found this place in Fort Wayne, Indiana. If you just commit to total abstinence for 3 months and go there and see what you could learn while you're there, while we finish this pre-sentencing investigation. Because back then they still didn't have the computer link ups between states. And I had given them all the information. Well, I did come out of a stupor in this state. My friends came and got me, and there might have been something there, and I think they OR'd me. So it took them a while, and they came up with things from 18 different states and paper, and really, I know, kind of unmanageable. But in the meantime, when they sent me to this house, the interesting thing was Narcotics Anonymous was getting more present in Fort Wayne. In Ohio, where I was living, you had to drive between 50, 80, and 100 miles to get to a meeting every day, right? We have one in the town next to where I was living, and then everything else was long distance. And they said, Mary, if you really want this, and if you really want a total lifestyle change, I did take some of the suggestions from the onset. They were like, you could start being legal. If you don't have a license, don't drive. Call people for rides. I am one of those people that in a meeting, when I introduced myself as a newcomer and they passed around the schedule and put their numbers on it, I called them. I called and got rides. It was cool. And we went on lots of road trips. And the other thing they said was, we know you have a lot of money banked right now in the cash box, because I was honest about that too. They didn't take it. I don't even. But they asked me not to use it. They asked me to only spend money that I had gainfully gotten inside legitimate routes of earning money. And so that put me in a vulnerable spot for the first time in my life. I was like, oh man, I can't even buy myself a cup of coffee with ill-gained money. Whew. Okay. I had never asked anybody for anything. And so here I was, leaning in. Because to the degree that I could understand and comprehend what the Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship meant and what these suggestions pertained to, I was trying to follow them. It was just a slow process for me. It was a real slow burn for me to believe that total abstinence was possible for a person like me. I really believed if you got to know me, you'd be convinced too, and you'd help me find the right combination. And in the process, I had to let you get to know me, and I had to start to have some humility. And it's like, okay, you know what? If it's as simple as that, if it's as simple as leaving that cash box alone and not using money, from my old lifestyle. I will let people buy me a cup of coffee. And then it was meals. And then it was going on trips like this as a newcomer. People would be like, what else you got to do on the weekend? We know what you used to do. And they would just load me up in a car and take me off to my first convention, my first conference, my first Marlet Canal, exposing me to how other people were not just staying clean, but becoming of service to their clients. And it blew my mind that there could be so many people. And at that time, there were, we weren't even hitting the hundreds most times. But when we came together, there was something life-changing. Like, I wasn't on the highs for a while. And I'm real glad that some of you could appreciate that, give me my space, because I didn't feel the love. I didn't feel much of anything except anger, rage, and tiny glimpses of hope when I got here. I wasn't capable of anything else for a very long time. And fortunately for me, I crossed paths with enough people who said, it's all right, keep coming back. A lot of us go through that. How many years did you damage your body? It's going to take some time to heal. I was around a lot of people much older than me who said they'd done a lot more than me, who were happier than me, much quicker than me. And I didn't understand it. And it took a while. And it really. So I go to this place in Fort Wayne and I decide, okay, you know what? 3 months. I can do 3 months without no dope. And that will give people a chance to really get to know me and figure out that combination that I need. Because there are clearly people more experienced than me at all of this. So I get there. I'm a first sponsor I get myself. She's just like me. It didn't last but a couple of weeks and it went wrong really fast. So I decided, okay, I'm going to have to change my tactics. I was listening to somebody share last night about their road to recovery with sponsors, and we have some similarities. I really enjoyed how she put it. Sometimes I'm not as generous with my views about how people in positions and opportunity to provide experience can be very controlling, very manipulative, very dismissive. And thank God that the next person that I picked was so different from me that she could always give me challenges in a way that motivated me and instilled a sense of hope that I too had a shot at this. Because when I got here, I never thought I'd measured up. All of my life, I thought there was something so different about me. That life just wasn't, there were people that life worked out for and people that it didn't, and you just had to muddle through. I was one of the people that it didn't. And drugs helped me to bear the pain and the isolation and the separation that I experienced on a regular basis. But there came a time when it no longer worked. And the fun and the parties and none of it gave me an escape anymore. And then I come here and I have to sit still and I have to know that without my permission, I was going to amp up to rage because of the way that somebody tried to hug me in a meeting or the way that somebody talked about situations and people who I revered. And I just had to learn that I could outlive a feeling. And the first step works. I'm not just powerless over drugs, I'm powerless over the way people act. And the fact that this loving, life-saving program is at different places of development for every person that I come across. And take what you need and leave the rest. This used to be a very pertinent statement that we said a lot in NA, and it saved my life more than once. And this first sponsor that I got, she was like, okay, so Mary, might take a little longer than 3 months. How about we don't put a time limit on it? How about you start writing and sharing on the steps? And when you get through all 12 steps, then I will know you well enough to figure this out. And if you still want to use, I might not be able to help you, but I may know some people who can help you. Okay, deal. Deal. So I got started in this. It's beautiful. She's teaching me things. I'm living in this house filled with women in varying degrees of commitment to their own programs. And so we always had plenty of chaos. That kept me comfortable enough because I wasn't used to a calm lifestyle. And I'm second of 12 kids, so it was easy for me to like have those extraneous motivators. But I can tell you that like there were people who said things like, I lost more than you used. I spilled more than you drank. And I said, that's probably why you didn't get here younger, like me, right? You got to find your grit, people. No excuses. What one member says that doesn't fuel recovery, you can find 10 more who can give a positive and helpful message. But I'm an addict. I learned in the second step, I get to choose where I put my focus. Give me an insane message and I entertain it. That's my problem, not yours. Right? There's a whole lot of other people to fuel what I got going. And so like, oh, that's the other part of it, is figuring out how my disease will manifest clean. How I will look to the people who tear me down instead of build me up. I have a choice. And that was kind of crazy. It's like liberating. And for some of you, you know, you might have come in with some living skills that I didn't have. This was revolutionary to me. To start to entertain open-mindedness and to recognize that not everybody in the fellowship is capable of caring about me. Well, it's a program we have to work, not the fellowship that we have to be 100% with. And so there's this thing, okay, so Friday night I didn't get to be here because I had an HNI commitment back in Cincinnati and nobody else could cover it. So I stayed and did it. And I'm like, oh, I got some. Somebody come in who had had a lot of time clean and then had a very severe relapse and now was trying to get all in again, get reinvested. And he talked about refrigerator, and this analogy blew my mind. Because if I'd heard it in the beginning, maybe I did hear it and I couldn't comprehend it yet. But when he said it to me Friday, it was like as valuable as if I would have gotten to be with all my predecessors, right? So I think of myself now as a refrigerator. When I came into Narcotics Anonymous, people showed me how to plug in to my source. And what happens with the refrigerator if it gets unplugged? Things start to rot. Yeah. Some things quickly, some things slowly, but everything in it eventually starts to rot. And so in my addiction, I used every day, multiple times a day. So in my recovery, in order to be plugged in, I got to fuel my recovery every day, multiple times a day. And fortunately, it's an adventure because we're an interesting lot of people. You know, I've never gotten bored with the people in Narcotics Anonymous. Every now and then I get tired of some of them, and it's kind of like, okay, I know what she's going to say. She's got her hand up. I know what he's going to say. And so that, you know what happens when I start to think like that and act like that and recognize that I'm getting closed-minded because somebody else has finally gotten a consistent message, then I grab a newcomer and I go on a road trip. And I find that in the city, we're very fortunate because we have over 100 meetings a week to choose from, and that we can go to a meeting any time of the day or night. But not even an hour drive away from us, there are still people who don't have one meeting every night a week in their area. And they need diversity in the message, and they need the things that I can go and hear the same things from them that Sally and Tom were going to say that I close my mind to in my area. I can hear it from somebody that I haven't met yet, right? And it keeps me growing and hopeful. And it also exposes them to the fact that this program works and that when we relish the opportunity to make a change, instead of sitting there and starting to ease on out the door, you know, I can unplug from recovery and be in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. See what I'm saying? Right? I got to recognize how my disease will show up I'm kind of jumping around, but I guess it doesn't matter because I'm up here, right? When they called me and invited me to be the speaker, I was kind of overwhelmed because I knew the predecessors who had already committed to being. But I remember, and this is for some of you on Zoom, and Camilla, it's so good to meet you. The things that people do with technology now that are so life-saving. I know Narcotics Anonymous isn't as big in some of our countries and some of our areas in the United States yet, and that you rely on technology and opportunities like this to connect. I was that girl for 7 years. There was the only woman who stayed in Narcotics Anonymous in my area. Don't give up. Broaden the base. There's a lot of ways to do it now that are free. We had to put a lot more effort into it in the early days. You got enough grit, right? We can do this together. I was never capable of putting any time together. I didn't even want to before I got here. And once I found out that maybe, just maybe, drugs were the first thing that had to go, and tried it, revolutionary. Now, I don't consider that when I got out of that treatment center and continued using and going to meetings, I don't consider any of that relapses because I haven't put any clean time together. I had not made any effort to work a program yet. I just got exposure. But from the time that I got that relationship with my first sponsor and started writing and sharing on steps, I haven't found it necessary to feed the beast through drugs again. Unfortunately, our disease will manifest in a lot of other ways. And so that's why I have to keep growing, right? Like I've had some beautiful, beautiful sponsor relationships. Some on the West Coast, I've sponsored some people internationally because we're an emerging fellowship, right? And if we really, really believe in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, then when we go to any of those other fellowships that are designed to address addiction and arrest it, there's a little something missing for this side. And so to get committed to Narcotics Anonymous means the broader the base, the higher the point of freedom, the things that we get to experience, the adventures that we get to go on are amazing. But just like I never settled for whatever dope was available. I always had my feelers out for what was best and I went for it. That's how I ended up with charges in 18 states, right? So in recovery, I can do that. I can go on adventures now. I can enjoy that, to keep my refrigerator plugged in and to keep from rotting from the inside out, which I am fully capable of doing with some time clean. The exposure isn't enough, right? The going deeper into the program with time clean, finding a sponsor who has a different set of steps that I haven't been through yet. And there's more than one or two out there. I've been through it 10 different ways so far with my sponsor. I stopped counting after 10 because then you're just bragging, right? But what was important to me is to find the diversity of the fellowship and to figure out how other people were doing this in a way that keeps unlocking all the little things that got so ingrained in me from an early age. And I'm not talking about assigning blame to anybody else. I'm talking about unraveling the things that keep me from giving and receiving a genuine hug today, right? It's simple. It's simple. When you push a button in me, there's something inside of me that's getting ready to come out, and I can let it corrupt me clean, or I can use the steps to get some awareness, accept responsibility for my part, and guess what? Get freedom, real freedom, not some fleeting glimpse because I got some intellectual understanding, but going deep. It blows my mind. People couldn't have told me in the beginning that Narcotics Anonymous could help me find a new way of life. I honestly believe that I would be that one example, that despite your best efforts, you had to give up on me and you had to help me find the right drugs, because that was a promise made to me. And so far, so far. Whoo. Okay. So my father and I had this using relationship. I got clean at 21. Let me just talk a little about my dad. Um, I loved him. I revered him. I also had some deep issues to deal with around him. One of them was that, like, him and my mother, when they lost control, they were extreme rage, like knock your teeth out. I withstood a lot of damage in my younger years, several broken bones because I would put myself in front of my younger siblings. There were things with my parents I didn't know how we were going to rectify some things. And the sponsors are like, you don't gotta know. You don't gotta know, and you don't gotta figure it out yourself. You just stay in the process. More will be revealed. It comes when it comes. And until it comes, you just enjoy what's in front of you. Well, there came a time. So first of all, let me tell you this. I took wrath. Like after I got out of treatment, I was in the upstairs corner bedroom at my aunt's house, and my stepmom came. I was asleep. She came in the night, grabbed me by the hair, yanked me out of my bed, pulled me down to the living room to have a conversation with my parents and step-parents about what the heck was going on. How did I get this? Embarrass my family by putting myself in treatment. Okay? I went through some tough times with my family because we take care of our own and we deal with our own issues, and you don't put that kind of stuff out there, and you're finally legal. Why would you stop now? They couldn't comprehend it. And we went from that to a series of events in my father's life that led him to meet a different judge who got him into a different program. And I didn't even get to know, because we lived in different areas. I had no idea that my father had put together some clean time until the day that I was ready to make amends. This blows my mind. My higher power is a show off, because I'm ready to make amends to my father, but before I could pick up the phone, my husband at the time, oh yeah, I've been married and divorced clean. That's not a fun badge to carry, but I got some experience there. But my husband comes in with the mail. My father had went up to me. I had done all the work with my sponsor, and I was ready to call my father that day. I had practiced, I had rehearsed what I wanted to talk about, and I was going to decide, okay, is it going to happen over the phone? Because I didn't go to visit him a lot because he was a using addict, and I would have to send postcards. Arduous processes that we get into. In any case, I opened my mail, and there is a written amends from my father. It was on his 9th day. Changed me. It changed me. They didn't come looking for support from me. And it didn't come with anything until he had done the work. It was ready to accept his part in some things. And it was beautiful. And it changed me. I still have that letter, and I've learned to take more time praying and preparing for 9 steps to let them be that person because of what happened between us. Now, I wish I could tell you that story was completely beautiful from there, but my father did not. He's not one of those addicts who had lifelong recovery. But because of that point that happened for him, he was an extreme addict, and when he had his relapse, he broke his back, came to live with me for a while, and we had some times. But I had a heart for my father because he helped me heal something deep in. I didn't even know how deep it went. I had never even been able to put words to it. Yet he did on a piece of paper when he accepted his part in some things, and my father relapsed and never did put time together again. But even though he was able to respect my recovery, and we had a relationship to the end. Now, let me just tell you this. In 2012, 2011, my life changed dramatically. He was diagnosed with cancer, and it was a very aggressive form, and it ravaged his body quickly. And I changed my life to let him come and live with me again. In the workplace, I was very fortunate. Oh my God, you guys taught me to show up and grow up in so many ways that I had this career where the vice president, my boss, said, "Hey, Mary, you only get one chance to have a good ending. We're behind you. When you need to take time off, take it off. If we need you, have your computer with you. We can ask you to log in and do some things because y'all taught me to grow up, right?" So I had a job that wasn't put in jeopardy. And I was able to maybe be my father's POA and go through some things that I never thought that I would have to make decisions on, and conversations with doctors. And y'all taught me, you taught me principles in Narcotics Anonymous, that there is never anything too small, too stupid, too embarrassing to talk about with y'all about my own history, my own life, so that when it came time to deal with my father, I knew how to say, I don't even know what the questions are. Who are the people who have experience in this area? I worked with nurses, I worked with doctors. I started calling them. If this were your parent and you were hearing this from the options and from these 4 experts, you had a team, you know, all kinds of complications. That's what happens when you get addicts together who have used their bodies rigorously for years. You get complications. And they taught me how to navigate. They taught me how to step up. They taught me how to be an advocate for him when he was incapable of doing it for himself. They taught me how to put my father's best interests first, right? And so we had a 9-month ending. And I had these newcomers who would come to my house when I couldn't go to meetings because my father's circumstances were too dire, but he wasn't getting the quality of care that was needed in the facilities that were available because of the lack of insurance that he had. And so I found a way. I was called to it. I know I was called to it. Everything that has fueled me in Narcotics Anonymous, I have been called to. Every service position, every sponsorship role, every piece of literature that I got to be a part of helping write prepared me for this opportunity to figure out when and how to communicate with all these professionals in this life. But it was hard. And people would come and we would have fire pit in the backyard and meetings by my house. And you know what was the most beautiful part of it? Well, and another thing that y'all could do to help me prepare for what was going on with my father, because I had all the expert help that I needed, but I needed newcomers to help me get out of myself from time to time and to remind me that because of all you had done to build into me, I was capable of that moment with them, and sometimes I had to step out of it and just be where other people were at. Get the freedom to remember how far I'd come, not how hard it was to deal with this moment. And it helped. It helped. Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward to the ending because the ending was brutal. When my father passed, I was dealing with 2 brothers in a relapse. And I had a daughter who was using my father's prescription meds. And I was honest with people in the rooms about most of it. And I kept a tight circle around who I was sharing some stuff about what was going on with my daughter, because that's her story to tell when she gets here. And I had learned some hard lessons about how I had trusted all of you with my father, with my brother. Even when we talk in code about a family member, people think they know, and then shit goes south. Somebody who's well-intending and cares and tries to connect, like, go up to that family member and disclose things, and then it's not good. So that's why I go to my out of town, out of state folks in the meantime to keep my needs met. But I was honest, and I was throwing things on the line in my local fellowship about how hard this was and about how we were about to bury my dad. And So we had to, my dad was well loved and had several circles. So we had this big Catholic funeral in one part of the state with family, using family. Then we had to go to another part of the state because all of his bar friends, the bar owners, everybody was doing stuff. And we had a big memorial service there. I was in danger. I was hurting. Nobody could have told me how much my internal resources would have been depleted for the amount of energy it took to care for my father in his ending. And I was empty. And I was telling people. And because I was letting people know and could articulate my needs, they all thought I was okay. And that weekend that we buried my father in October happens to be the same weekend that Ohio has this regional Tar Hollow 12-step retreat. And it's in a beautiful neck of the woods in Hocking Hills, with cabins and rolling hills and no cell phone coverage. So a good number of my people were there. I usually go there and I love it. I love unplugging in the right ways, right? But none of those people were there to call me, to text me, to check on me while I was off doing these things. And 100% of the fellowship did not get in touch, did not call me. Everybody thought because I could talk about my needs, I must be okay. Because I had been direct about all the things that were going on and how scared I was to sit with brothers who were using, who I started their using, because my father and grandpa were out of the picture by the time my younger siblings were coming up. So I'm the one who taught them to use the way my parents and grandparents taught me. So I had the guilt and shame and the powerlessness that I couldn't change their circumstances and I couldn't go in and help them out of addiction, but I was going to sit around with them and grieve and go through the motions of burying my father. And I was deeply concerned. And 100% of the fellowship didn't call, didn't text, didn't return my calls. And the newer members who would sit around the fire pit with me when they found out, because I didn't let anybody off the hook. I talked disparagingly about this Narcotics Anonymous fellowship that had left me 100% to my own devices. Thank God for the limited connection I had to a higher power that had been a source of focus strength, that had come through the number of steps that I've worked in so many different times with so many different beautiful sponsors over the year. It was the thread. It wasn't even a string, it was a thread that I could make it through this. And people didn't they thought, Mary, you have all this time, you're not setting a good example. You're not making us feel good about this. I'm like, I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm gasping for air. Somebody help me. And what happened was several people came up to me after meeting or between meetings and started to share, thank you so much for sharing that, because we know you're well loved. We know that people have your back. We know you've spent years putting together an unshakable foundation. And to know that you were left 100% alone makes me feel better. I thought it was only me. Then I had the humility of finding out I had let people down the same way. How do we do this? How do we fix this? How do we learn how to be there no matter how much or how little time we have when somebody is suffering? How do we not discount our place in their lives and think that, oh, I couldn't possibly know them well enough to delve into that depth of pain, or I haven't experienced that yet. How could I possibly be the one to support them? Somebody else is more capable or qualified. I know some of the things that people experience with me because I've experienced with other people. It's like, so the hit on the fellowship, I'm a part of that fellowship. And I can't leave Narcotics Anonymous over it because there's nowhere else for me to go. I know, I already tapped into all those other fellowships. They do not have the program that puts my disease at bay. They do not address the ways that my disease will attack me in the current lifestyle I'm leading. And so I knew I had to figure out a way to solve the depth of hurt and abandonment that I felt and find. And, so first thing I did was start going to other places. Look at all the flyers for Narcotics Anonymous and get those road trips in and grab some newcomers and go to chill out. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Meet some people who could Oh my God, cook, you know, nurture this broken spirit, because I didn't know how I was going to come to the other side of that. And I'll tell you what, I've had the same. Is my time up? I heard an alarm. Okay. I mean, you know, I'm an addict. I kind of get self-absorbed. I love this fellowship. I could talk for a whole day about the number of miracles that have come in my life, but I know you all have places to be. So keep me on task. I didn't look at the time. Okay, thank you. So here's the deal. I've been friends with this lovely woman who moved from Florida to Ohio in '89. In 1989, there was a group of guys in my little area. I mean, they thought they were being prudent. They thought they were making wise decisions on behalf of NA. I was had more clean time than any of them, but I put them in an awkward position because I wanted to start participating in regional service. And it was a group of guys going, and they all shared the same hotel room, and they didn't think the area could afford to have a hotel room for a woman. And so they said I couldn't have a service position. And there was this guy who had come from Florida, moved to Ohio, and he said, well, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. Here's my wife's number, call her. She'll let you stay at her house. It won't cost a dime. I'm moving on the road. He was traveling for something else. And I met her in 1989, and we were just amazing friends for 10 years. And then when I had a sponsor who relapsed, she and I had been friends for a good long time, and I called her and asked her, and in 1999, she agreed to be my sponsor. And we have been in that sponsor relationship ever since. And she is a beautiful, loving, caring woman. And that was the first thing I thought when they asked me. I'm like, she should be here, not me, because she's ahead of me in all the experience that I need. And I continue to be grateful to her. But I had to be honest with her about how I felt, and I had to ask for her help. How do I get through this? I'm holding the fellowship accountable for abandoning me after I've been very clear about how hard this was for me, and that I was going to be around drugs, not for hours, for days, traveling with my family, and like, please help me. And so she was part of that 100%, right? But she didn't give me any sound bites. She didn't make excuses for herself or you guys or the way I was feeling. She said, Mary, I'm going to need to do some work on this one. Let me call you back. We made it through that time. We made it through it. I had to learn how to be honest and direct and not just blast people in a meeting, but go to the people that I needed healing with and ask them, are we going to look at this together, or am I going to go build another base? Because I don't have any other options. Narcotics Anonymous is my life-saving, strength-giving opportunity to live. It's the only opportunity I have. And you know, she said the things that were important at the time, and we both got a level of honesty about where we were at, what we needed, and we went to a retreat in January where somebody forced me to stand in a room and hug somebody for 10 minutes, and I was going to tap out. I was going to bail. And then this scrawny little middle-aged newcomer who was forced to go to that retreat, and I had picked on her, because I like to pick on people, outside while she's half dragging on a cigarette when I first got there, because we can see the people who are comfortable in their skins and the people who aren't. And I spend more of my time with the people who don't, because it gives me hope and inspiration. And I had already connected with her, and guess what? Somebody had forced her to be in that room too. And she come running over to me. She's like, I can't do this unless I do it with you. And I'm like, perfect. Because that's you, the only person in this room that I would hug for that long. Newcomer saved my life when other people They let me down. Like, there's that newcomer who's more desperate than me, who doesn't even know that the Narcotics Anonymous program exists. It's free. It'll teach you how to live. It's beyond your wildest dreams. It'll surprise you. It's not a trick. It's a new way of life. It'll show us all that we can get a day, a week, a month, a year, several years without the use of drugs and still want to live and find a new sense of purpose and have fun in life, right? So people were like, oh, you're so young, we'll take you to all the fun things. I wasn't worried about fun. I wanted some purpose. And I have it today. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when I got here, I know some of you may not believe it because I'm kind of talkative now, but when I got here, I didn't have words for people. And I'm having an interest in connecting with many people. But I really, really was thoroughly committed to exploring whether this could be a new way for me to live. And somebody handed me 8.5 by 11 sheets of what I now know today as the Just for Today book, right? And they said, just read it. Underline the things that resonate for you, that inspire you, that touch your heart, that change your thinking. And highlight the things that make no sense to you. Oh, I can do that. That was that first sponsor who got me started writing stats. She got me involved in service that way. She was very involved in the love of our literature process. She had been in Tennessee back when we did everything on typewriters, helping with that first edition. It was beautiful, beautiful times to be in Narcotics Anonymous. It's still beautiful for me. I don't really, really, really relish the moments that I got to write when I couldn't talk, that I got to look at her. I didn't even know I was helping to write some of our literature. I just knew that I was getting a change in perspective that was necessary to be comfortable in my own skin, right? Eventually, I got formally involved in the process. That person that helped me get connected to the person who became my sponsor, that's what I wanted to go to Region for, is to get more formally involved and learn more about this literature process. And you know, here was the thing, this was really cool. So, I'm that girl that people in my area didn't know what to do with because I was younger than any of them, had more clean time than them, lacked experience, wasn't trying to prove anything to them, was just trying to find a way to coexist. And just, you know, years later, I found out some of the barriers that they had. But at the time, we were all unconscious and trying to figure out how to get a day clean. Right? Alden and I would come to my area because I went to that first regional meeting saying, I want to learn more about how we do this literature process. And then he would come to our area and he would help us get through the divisiveness and the personality issues and really get a constructive process in place for the next phase of Just for Today. And then Alden and Ivan and Pete at a regional meeting, they nominated me to be the first female representative from Ohio to go to the World Service Conference. And I got voted in. And the guy who was running against me was the sponsor of the guys in my area. That helped me, I say. And so it added to the personality conflicts, but it broadened my base. It gave me a way that really, I mean, you know, life is always happening. Keep moving forward, look for more opportunities. I went to the World Service Conference and I got involved and I met people from other countries and I'm still in touch with them today, right? The people who care about Narcotics Anonymous, yes, some of us go down controlling rigid paths and others of us are exploring, and usually there will always be problems. We're addicts. But when I come together with people from around the world who have the same passion that I do for the same program that saved my life, it leaves an impression and it forms relationships that wouldn't have otherwise occurred. But I got to be on the floor of the conference to vote, and I got to carry the vote from Ohio for that piece of literature that saved my life, my first month clean, and that I contributed to. not in minor ways, in significant ways, because I care about this fellowship and I cared about us having our own literature that was written by us, for us, with us, and it's still happening. And if y'all want to argue about the guiding principles, man, find somebody else, because I really don't want to hear your opinion on it. Because what I remember about it, what my experience with it is that for 2 years, I sat on the local literature committee, and I was not the chair because I believe in the rotation of service and giving other people a chance to be of service too. I participate without leading everything. I sat for 2 years workshopping and every month contributing with my daughter, who got some time writing that piece of literature. Yeah. Mid-election called me up after they heard me speak. they said, can you tell me which pages you contributed to and how much of that information was retained in the words that you provided? And I'm like, come on, you guys, let's trust group conscience. Let's stay in the process and let's look at ways to be involved and encourage one another. And if you don't like what's taking place, can't throw stones from the outside. Get involved. Get involved. We let some things happen in our fellowship that we don't agree with. The way that we get it to change, we take positions, we get involved, we become part of the solution. It's not easy, it's not fun. Yeah, I'm good. There's one other person in the room. No, it's sorry. No, I have some things about the history of NA that have contributed to my recovery in very personal ways. I also have some things about the history of NA that could have crippled me if I'd have stayed in the personalities. But y'all and people like you keep encouraging me to rise above that, right? To write on the step, to make it personal with my sponsor so that I can be a part of the solution, no matter how long it takes. Because I'll tell you this, I haven't met a single addict yet who has arrived. I also haven't met a single addict yet who didn't care deeply about this life-saving program. We just have different routes to get there. And I, through some very interesting things that I won't go into today, I experienced in my area group consciences about the Just for Today book that didn't go at all like I felt they should. But guess what? I'm more aligned with people in Australia. I found that out at the World Service Conference. There was a home group that went to a region, that went to the world, who had said the exact same things that I had said in my little home group. And what I found from that was that things come about and they can be spiritual. And you cannot corrupt the program. There are corrupt people in the Fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm one of them. I'm working on that. I'm trying to grow. But when we come together and we share honestly and openly, and we try to, surrender the personality part of it and speak to the principles that we're learning, then we got a shot. No matter how it goes in the moment. I've seen it too many times in Narcotics Anonymous. Things that I didn't think should be happening that I thought could cripple our fellowship, and I keep forgetting sometimes. This program was made by a higher power. Before any of us addicts had the inclination to stop using. I don't know a single addict that was able to do it on their own, right? And this program is foolproof. The people in it, the fellowship that we learn how to navigate. No, if I apply love, open-mindedness, understanding, and the courage to share what's on my heart. Every time I've seen this fellowship grow through some things that we thought were insurmountable. And we got some things, we got some growing to do. Thank God, we're still around. We got people who have put enough effort into their personal programs that they've gotten into positions that affect NA. Well, you know what? If you don't like how they're affecting NA, do your part. I'm doing mine. I show up in my area participating in some current literature projects, and I love them. And they're bringing some people to the table who didn't even know the story of how our original literature came about and some of the things since. But I see them at a time when I look around Narcotics Anonymous, and a lot of the positions are held by people with a lot of time because the newer members don't feel like they have anything to contribute yet. Hey guys, consider this. Those of us who got here in the early years, we started taking those service positions in Narcotics Anonymous with 6 months and a year clean, not because we had something to contribute, but because we had something to learn, and because we're better together than we are on our own. And that if we come together in the spirit of unity and look for ways to solve things and hear each other out, and don't look for a quick solution, but we really get clear about what the burdens, the opportunities, the needs are, and be centered on our primary purpose, I think we still got a shot. But it's not just up to the people with time. Like, don't shortcut anything. Don't expect anybody to solve this for you. This program continues to exist because people with 3 months clean started a new meeting that still exists today, and that we still have that need. People got involved in H&I, and don't underestimate your ability to carry a message. It's not the amount of time that gives us a pure message, it's the amount of effort I'm putting in my daily program, right? That will help people to know Narcotics Anonymous exists. It's made by people who couldn't find any other way to live life without drugs. It's made for the people who found out that our disease would manifest in new ways without the use of drugs. And that there are people here who can help to arrest that and get to the unexplored territory. And I love the literature that we had in the beginning of fellowship. And I also believe that there are people today who, when you get to the core of the Narcotics Anonymous program and it's how it's working, you may have that one sentence that person who doesn't know Narcotics Anonymous existed needs. So awaken their hope to give them this just remarkable inspiration that, oh, wow, I could try this. I could do that. You're talking to me. You're talking to me in a language that I hear. Because, there's more than one way to get to people. But the fact is that Narcotics Anonymous offers one promise: freedom from active addiction. And from it, dreams are possible. And I will just tell you this before I end, because this blows my mind. See, I didn't curse. It's getting better, getting better. All right. So I got like unbelievable things happen on the road to recovery. One of them is that I ended up with this profession that spans a large geography, states, and I get a chance to be a positive influence in communities. It's been published 3 times. The last one, like in my office, on my desk, is waiting for one more author signature, because what I found out in my profession is the same principle applies there that applies here, that if I bring more authors into it and more diversity, and they really chink away at what I think is the most effective way to organize the content and share the possibilities so that other people will gain from it, take the practices and grow it. They come in, and it was hard this time, you guys. I had 6 authors. They were like, and like some of the things that they pointed out and wanted to go a different direction with, and I trusted. I set up a group conscious process. They don't have to understand our program for me to apply the principles in us to get the benefit. And it's beautiful. It's further reaching than I could have ever done on my own. And it's because I took what I'm learning in Narcotics Anonymous and took it in the professional world. Like, I'm already getting calls from the reviewers because it's in a peer-reviewed journal. So like I'm an adult now. And I'm contributing in areas that I never would have put my hat in the ring for, but I had this higher power that was like sending me postcards. I'm like, why am I getting stuff to go back to this school? I haven't even looked into going back to school. What? Oh, it might be that there's another source that's guiding and directing me, saying, put your hat in this room. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm kind of qualified to write it. In my process professionally, I taught as a faculty member at UC for 15 years. I stand before you someone who never wanted to have any responsibilities, someone who's learned how to be a productive member of society and contributes at levels and in ways that only Narcotics Anonymous prepared me for. And thank you for that.